Hello, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Law 44. Law 44. Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The mirror reflects reality, but it's also the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. The mirror effect mocks and humiliates them, making them overreact. By holding up a mirror to their psyches, you seduce them with the illusion that you share their values. By holding up a mirror to their actions, you teach them a lesson. Few can resist the power of the mirror effect. Mirror effects. Preliminary typology. Mirrors have the power to disturb us. Gazing at our reflection in the mirror, we most often see what we want to see. The image of ourselves with which we are most comfortable, we tend to not look too closely, ignoring the wrinkles and blemishes. But if we do look hard at the reflected image, we sometimes feel that we are seeing ourselves as others see us, as a person among other people, an object rather than a subject. That feeling makes us shudder. We see ourselves, but from the outside, minus the thoughts, spirit, and soul that fill our consciousness, we are a thing. In using mirror effects, are symbolically recreate this disturbing power by mirroring the actions of other people, mimicking their movements to unsettle and infuriate them. Made to feel mocked, cloned object like an image without a soul, they get angry or do the same thing slightly differently and they might feel disarmed. You have perfectly reflected their wishes and desires. This is the narcissistic power of mirrors. In other case, the mirror effect unsettles your targets, whether angering or entrancing them, and in that instant you have the power to manipulate or seduce them. The effect contains great power because it operates on the most primitive emotions. There are four main mirror effects in the realm of power. The neutralizing effect. In ancient Greek mythology, the Gorgon, Medusa, and serpents for hair, protruding tongue, massive teeth, and a face so ugly that anyone who gazed at her was turned into a stone out of fright. But the hero Perseus managed to slay Medusa by polishing his bronze shield into a mirror, then using the reflection in the mirror to guide him as he crept up and cut off her head without looking at her directly. If the shield in this instance was a mirror, the mirror was a kind of shield. Medusa could not see Perseus. She saw only her own reflected actions, and behind the screen, the hero stole up and destroyed her. This is the essence of the neutralizing effect. Do what your enemies do, following their actions as best you can. They cannot see what you are up to. They are blinded by your mirror. Their strategy for dealing with you depends on your reacting to them in a way characteristic of you, neutralizing it by playing a game of mimicry with them. The tactic has a mocking, even infuriating effect. Most of us remember the childhood experience of someone teasing us by repeating our words exactly. After a while, usually not long, we wanted to punch them in the face. Working more subtly as an adult, you can still unsettle your opponents this way. Shielding your own strategy with the mirror, you lay invisible traps or push your opponents into the trap they planned for you. This powerful technique has been used in military strategies since the day of Sun Tzu. In our own time, it often appears in political campaigning. It's also useful for disguising those situations in which you have no particular strategy yourselves. This is the warrior's mirror. A reverse version of the neutralizing effect is the shadow. You shadow your opponent's every move without their seeing you. Use the shadow to gather information that will neutralize their strategy later on, when you will be able to thwart their every move. The shadow is effective because to follow the movements of others is to gain valuable insights into their habits and routines. The shadow is the preeminent device for detective and spies. The Narcissus effect. Gazing at an image in the waters of a pond, the Greek youth Narcissus fell in love with it, and when he found out that the image was his own reflection and that therefore he could not consummate his love, he despaired. And drown himself. All of us have a similar problem. We are profoundly in love with ourselves, but since this love excludes a love object outside ourselves, it remains continuously unsatisfied and unfulfilled. The narcissist effect plays on this universal narcissism. You look deep into the souls of other people, fathom their inmost desires, their values, their taste, their spirit, and you reflect it back to them, making yourself into a kind of mirror image. Your ability to reflect their psyche gives you great power over them. They may even feel a tinge of love. This is simply the ability to mimic another person, not physically but psychologically, and it's immensely powerful because it plays upon the unsatisfied self-love of a child. Normally, people bombard us with their experience, their taste. They hardly ever make the effort to see things through our eyes. This is annoying, but it also creates great opportunity. If you can so you understand another person by reflecting their inmost feelings, they will be entranced and disarmed. All the more so because it happens so rarely. No one can resist this feeling of being harmoniously reflected in the outside world, even though you might well be manufacturing it for their benefit and for deceptive purpose of your own. The narcissist effect works wonders in both social life and business. It gives us both the seducers and the courteous mirror. The moral effect. The power of verbal argument is extremely limited and often accomplishes the opposite of what is intended. As the Grecian remarks, the truth is generally seen, rarely heard. The moral effect is a perfect way to demonstrate your ideas through action. Quite simply, you teach others a lesson by giving them a taste of their own medicine. In the moral effect, you mirror what other people have done to you and do so in a way that makes them realize you are doing to them exactly what they did to you. You make them feel that their behavior has been unpleasant as opposed to hearing you complain and whine about it, which only gets their defenses up. And as they feel the result of their action mirrored back at them, they realize in the profoundest sense that how they hurt or punish others with their unsocial behavior. You objectify the qualities you want them to feel ashamed of and create a mirror in which they can gaze at their follies and learn a lesson about themselves. This technique is often used by educators, psychologists, and anyone who has to deal with unpleasant and unconscious behavior. This is the teacher's mirror. Whether or not there is actually anything wrong with the way people have treated you. However, it can often be your advantage to reflect it back to them in a way that makes them feel guilty about it. The hallucinatory effect. Mirrors are tremendously deceptive, for they create a sense that you are looking at the real world. Actually, though, you are only staring at a piece of glass which, as everyone knows, cannot show the world exactly as it is. Everything in a mirror is reversed. When Alice goes through the looking glass in Lewis Carroll's book, she enters a world that is back to front and more than just visually. The hallucinatory effect comes from creating a perfect copy of an object, a place, a person. This copy acts as a kind of dummy. People take it for the real thing because it has the physical appearance of the real thing. This is the preeminent technique of con artists, who strategically mimic the real world to deceive you. It also has applications in any arena that requires camouflage. This is the deceiver's mirror. Observance of mirror effect. Observance 1. In February of 1815, the Emperor Napoleon escaped from the island of Elba, where he had been imprisoned by the Allied forces of Europe, and returned to Paris in a march that stirred the French nation, rallying troops and citizens of all classes to his side and chasing his successors, King Louis, off the throne. By March, however, having re-established himself in power, he had to face the fact that France's situation had gravely changed. The country was devastated. He had no allies among the other European nations, and his most loyal and important ministers had deserted him or left the country. Only one man remained from the old regime, Joseph Fauci, his former minister of police. Napoleon had relied on Fauci to do his dirty work throughout his previous reign, but he had never been able to figure his minister out. He kept a corps of agents to spy on all of his ministers so that he would always have an edge on them. But no one had gotten anything on Fauci. If suspected of some misdeed, the minister would not get angry or take the accusation personally. He would submit, nod, smile, and change colors, demon-like, chameleon-like, adapting to the requirements of the moment. At first, this had seemed somewhat pleasant and charming, but after a while it frustrated Napoleon, who felt undone by this slippery man. At one time or another, he had fired all of his most important ministers, including Talleyrand, but he never touched Fauci. And so in 1815, back in power and in need of help, he felt he had no choice but to reappoint Fauci as his Minister of Police. Several weeks into his new reign, Napoleon's spies told him they believed Fauci was in secret contact with ministers of foreign countries, including Metternich of Austria. Afraid that his most valuable minister was betraying him to his enemies, Napoleon had to find out the truth before it was too late. He could not confront Fauci directly in person. The man was slippery as an eel. He needed hard proof. This seems to come in April when the emperor's private police captured a Viennese gentleman who had come to Paris to pass information on to Fauci, ordering the man brought before him. Napoleon threatened to shoot him then and there unless he confessed. The man broke down and admitted he had given Fauci a letter from Metternich written in invisible ink, arranging for a secret meeting of special agents in Basel. Napoleon accordingly ordered one of his own agents to infiltrate this meeting. If Fauci was indeed planning to betray him, he would finally be caught red-handed and would hang. Napoleon waited impatiently for the agent's return, but to his bewilderment, the agent showed up days later, reporting that he had heard nothing that would implicate Fauci in a conspiracy. In fact, it seemed that the other agents present suspected Fauci of double-crossing them, as if he were looking for Napoleon all along. Napoleon did not believe this for an instant. Fauci had somehow outwitted him again. The following morning, Fauci visited Napoleon and remarked, "By the way, sire, I never told you that I had a letter from Metternich a few days ago. My mind was full of things of greater moment. Besides, his immediately omitted to give me the powder needed to make the writing legible. Here at length is the letter." Sure that Fauci was toying with him, Napoleon exploded, "You are a traitor, Fauci. I ought to have you hanged." He continued to harangue Fauci, but could not fire him without proof. Fauci only expressed amazement at the emperor's words, but inwardly he smiled, for all along he had been playing a mirroring game. Interpretation: Fauci had known for years that Napoleon kept on top of those around him by spying on them day and night. The ministers had survived this game by having his own spies spy on Napoleon's spies, thus neutralizing any action Napoleon might take against him. In the case of the meeting in Basel, he even turned the tables. Knowing about Napoleon's double agent, he set it up so that it would appear as if Fauci were a loyal double agent too. Fauci gained power and flourished in a period of great tumult by mirroring those around him. During the French Revolution, he was a radical Jacobin. After the Terror, he became a moderate Republican, and under Napoleon, he became a committed imperialist whom Napoleon ennobled and made the Duke of Otranto. If Napoleon took up the weapon of digging out dirt on people, Fauci made sure he had the dirt on Napoleon as well as on everyone else. This also allowed him to predict the emperor's plans and desires so that he could echo his vast sentiments before he had even uttered them. Shielding his actions with a mirror strategy, Fauci could also plot offensive moves without being caught in the act. This is the power of mirroring those around you. First, you give people the feeling that you share their thoughts and goals. Second, if they suspect you have ulterior motives, the mirror shields you from them, preventing them from figuring out your strategy. Eventually, this will infuriate and unsettle them. By playing the double, you steal their thunder, suck away their initiative, make them feel helpless. You also gain the ability to choose when and how to unsettle them. Another avenue to power, and the mirror saves you mental energy. Simply echoing the moves of others gives you the space you need to develop a strategy of your own. So that's it, guys. That's it. Bye.